Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the Web Yeshiva. Today I'm speaking to you from Denver, Colorado, instead of my usual place in Efrat, Israel. You know, we're going to talk about this Parsha, which is Parsha Pekudai, but just kind of as an aside, the Baal Shem Tov tells us that whenever something happens, we have to kind of see how that relates to what we're going to be doing and how it relates to us. So today, I woke up in Denver, very cold, and there was an ice storm. The streets and sidewalks were like skating rinks, totally like skating rinks. And one had to be extremely careful not to fall. So I'm thinking, what does that teach us about this Parsha? And in fact, we're going to be talking about how one is enabled and has the ability to pick himself up after a fall. People fall all the time. And we're going to talk not about the physical fall, but about the spiritual fall and how you get up from that, how you can avoid being sunk in the mire after you've fallen from the level that you've attained. This Parsha talks about the completion of the Mishkan, of the Tabernacle. The last few Parshas have been talking about the building of it. The Tabernacle was finally complete in this Parsha, and it was dedicated on the first day of Nisan, Rosh Chodesh Nisan. As after this dedication of it, there were 7 days, they call Shiva Yimei Miluim, where they were celebrating the construction of the Mishkan. In these days, it is said that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, took apart the Mishkan every single day, 2 or 3 different times. Took it apart, disassembled it, and put it back together. Now that's a very strange thing. Here we've been working all this time on getting the Mishkan, getting it together. In fact, when the pieces were all ready from Bezalel didn't know how to get it to stand up. So they brought everything to Moshe and said, here you go. Put the Mishkan together. Moshe looked at it, he says, hey, I don't know how to do this either. Hashem, what do I do? Hashem says, just lift up your hands, it'll be done. And it was done. And one of the many miracles that occurred. But here he's taking it apart, putting it back together. And why is that? This is based on a midrash. And there's 2 different opinions in the midrash. Rabbi Bar Yosef says that every one of these 7 days that Moshe would take apart the Mishkan 2 times a day. And Rabbi Hanania said that it was 3 times a day. And Kibot Shalom discusses this and discusses the possible reasons. And he says we have to understand that why was this done? He says this teaches us something about the purpose of every Jew. The purpose of every Jew is to, when you come into this world, we're coming from a high place into a low place of great temptations. And we learned before that God said, Asuli mikdash v'shechanti b'socham. I'm going to make for you, I'm going to make a Mishkan, a tabernacle, and I will dwell in you. B'socham doesn't say in it, but it says b'socham, in every single person. So what that means is a Jew has to be, in the words of the Kibot Shalom, he says, yachshir es gufo. You have to purify your body so that you can have a place where the Shekhinah, the presence of God, can rest. And you have to make yourself as if you have within yourself a refuge for Hashem to reside. And basically, we've talked about this also before. Every Jew has to make himself a small Beis Hamikdash, a Beis Hamikdash L'Atzmo. We said Shechanti b'socham, b'soch everybody, in the midst of everybody. We have to have that ability. Now, why are these things why is it taken apart? So we learn from this that there are times in our lives that we stumble on a spiritual basis. We may have, tried to improve ourselves, and we're going along fine, and something happens and kind of derails us, and we fall. And you have an option. If you fall, you can just stay there mired in the mud, give up hope, or you can get up again. So what this is teaching us is that when you fall spiritually, you don't give up, but you do, in fact, get up, rise up again. You'll be able to do it. The Torah teaches us that we can do that, and that is one of the reasons that the Medrash talks about as to why Moshe Rabbeinu was taking apart the Mishkan 2 or 3 times a day. Now, why 2 times a day, and why 3 times a day, according to that opinion? 2 times a day is symbolic of the time when the Beis Hamikdash was in existence, and even in the Mishkan, we had 2 specific offerings. We had the offerings, the Korban Tomid Shel Boker, the offering of the morning, and Shel Laila, of night. So we had one offering that would burn all night long, one all day long. And the purpose of those were to atone. The one in the morning was to atone for the sins we may have done at night. The one in the evening was to atone for the sins that we've done on the previous day. So that's the reason for the 2. The reason for the 3, according to Rabbi Hanania, is that it's symbolic of the way that the Beis Hamikdash was set up, the way the Mishkan was set up. You had the inner part that was where it contained the Aron. You had the next part before that contained a Mizbeach, the altar. And then you had a third part, and the third part was the courtyard of the Beis Hamikdash. So it's representing all of these 3 things. The same thing with a person. A person has 3 different levels. You have the level of your mind, of your heart, and your Evorim, your very limbs. So this is to teach us that all of these things put together we can use for the service of God, and understand that we shouldn't give up if in fact we fall. The Tibot Shalom also says, he says, when a Jew builds a Beis Hamikdash Ma'at, a small Beis Hamikdash, his own, you have to check every day to make sure that the construction is good, that the building is good. And if it's not, you've got to tear it down and rebuild it. There's an interesting Mishnah in Gemara Shabbos that says, Chayav Adam L'mashmesh Begadav Erev Shabbos L'nei Chashecha. It says a person is obligated to examine his clothing to see that he's not carrying anything to be violative of the prohibition against carrying on Shabbos. He should examine his clothing every Shabbos before dark. The word begadav, his clothing, can also be translated as his treachery. You should examine yourself and see what you've done that was treacherous to God during the previous week before you go into Shabbos. Now, this is the same concept. When we have a mikdash ba'at, a small Beis Hamikdash in each of us, we have an obligation every single day to check and see, am I living my life in a way that is pleasing to God? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I so engulfed in things that God doesn't want me to do that I'm stuck there? Am I mired in it? Can I repair this mikdash ba'at, this small Beis Hamikdash within me, or do I have to tear it down and build it again? So what is taught here by this tearing down and putting up the Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan, every 2 or 3 times a day, is that we have the ability. God tells us you have the Torah doesn't just give us stories, as we've said many times before. The Torah teaches us lessons for every day, and that's the lesson for today. Not to give up. As Rabbi Nachman said, "Ein yush ba'olam." There's no such thing as giving up in this world. Don't give up. No matter where you are, no matter what's happened, you can pick yourself up again and continue going. Anyway, I thank you all for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, and I wish everybody a wonderful Shabbat, and hopefully all of us will take this message of this Parsha internally. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.